So today I'll be showing some riding footage aboard the new Niner RKT9 and kind of talk through how I think it rides, and especially how it rides with the 120 fork. All right, so let me talk about this bike. Excuse me, starting off with the suspension. So in summary, the differences between this RKT9 and the one I just got off of, which was I think a 2017, is the fact this one has SRAM XO instead of Shimano XT, and the suspension. So the rear doesn't have a lockout. It's just the regular 3-position shock. And the front is a 120 with 34mm stanchion tubes instead of the 100 with 32. And that is the biggest difference. And I will say that I am loving this front fork, like in a big way. It's the case of you don't know what you're missing until you try it. I had no problems with the 100 on the other bike. It was a great fork. Served me well. But this 120, you just feel like you have that much more control over the front end. And when your front tire like hits a root or skids sideways, or you drift the tires in a corner, I have more control because the head angle is a little bit slacker. Just more confidence on this fork with the slacker head angle. And you know what's cool about a longer travel fork in the front is it makes it feel like you have more travel in the rear. So this is obviously the same 90mm travel in the rear, but I feel like it's more plush. And the rear shock on this is just excellent. I typically leave it in the middle setting to give me a good pedaling platform, but it still feels really plush. So I just leave it there. That last little downhill, I opened it up just to kind of see what it feels like, but I'm typically just leaving it in that middle setting. So yeah, the fork on this bike is a great spec. And you know, I waited until Fox came out with the Stepcast 120 before I tried a 120 on a cross-country bike. I'm so glad I did. I think, like I said in my review of this fork, you're going to start seeing more of those. So that's a huge plus. I don't really miss the extra little bit of sharpness I had with the 100. Once you get used to the kind of little bit more flowy feel of the longer fork, you get used to it real quickly and you appreciate the benefits. You know, I can't cut off an angle into a corner quite as sharp as the 100, but it's not. I mean, really, once you get used to it, you really don't miss it at all. Just a fun little downhill section. Yeah, more control, less feeling that the front end's just kind of being thrown around by the terrain. Now, as far as the shifting, this SRAM XO Eagle has been perfect. You do have to make sure the B screw is adjusted perfectly with that SRAM tool. Once it's set, it shifts great, but I'll cover that in my upcoming review of SRAM Eagle. Brakes. So I've said before I prefer Shimano brakes, but I am really digging these brakes as well. And what I really like about it is the pad contact adjustment feature, which I've never had on the recent SRAM brakes. And that makes these brakes so much better for me, because I like having the levers close to the bar because I don't have really long fingers. And when you do that, you want the pads to contact quickly, and that adjustment just helps you dial in these brakes perfectly. I don't miss my Shimano XT brakes. I miss mineral oil, but nice, a low tree. That's a good climb here. I'll pick the video up after this climb. So I like the cockpit too on this bike. Like I mentioned in my opening video of this bike, I trimmed the wires down from 780 to 760. That was a great move. Width is just perfect. .80mm stem is good. And by the way, regarding the fork, one more thing is, because the fork sits up a little bit higher, even though the fork is slightly heavier, the fact that it sits up a little bit makes the bike a little bit easier to manual, which is very cool. And I'm running a flat bar, of course, and I had the riser on the other bike, and because the fork is higher, my hands are about the same position. So this is actually the first flat bar that I've really enjoyed. It's got enough back sweep to where it feels almost like a riser bar in terms of back sweep. So that's good. So I haven't done any real steep climbs on this bike yet, but I don't think I'm going to have any problems with the front wheel wandering around with the higher fork. That doesn't really come into play until forks get out to about 140, 150 mil travel. So this bike climbs so well. It's 24 pounds, so this frame is plenty stiff. I'm running the Valors right now for my wheels, my favorite wheel set of all time. They're so plush. Yeah, this bike, man, the plushness of this bike for 90 mil travel in the back is just amazing. this bike has quickly been elevated to the status of my favorite cross-country bike I've ever ridden. It was kind of a tie before between the Giant Anthem 27.5 and my previous RKT9. Probably had the RKT9 edging it out a little bit, but this one is pretty amazing bike. So that's going to wrap it up for this video, just showing riding aboard this bike and talking about it. Questions or comments, as always, go ahead and drop those below.